Hey Soul Babes, in this week's episode, we'll be talking about finding what you love and making that what you do. So, the things that bring you vitality and life, the things that you find pleasure in, and the things that make you happy and bring you joy. How can you bring more of your time and energy into this area of your life, making that your full on lifestyle, making that your career, or just really putting that thing that you love in the forefront of your life. And in this case, you're going to be redefining what hard work means. Just taking a really good look at like how hard work feels for you, and really seeing like in the place that you work at, the place that you spend a majority of your time, is this place feeding you with that love and that vitality, or do you feel like it's draining you? So we're really just opening up this conversation of how we can start to not keep love and money separate, but actually mend them together and heal these ways of which we were taught habitually through our parents of how hard work looks like and feels like.
In your divine essence you shine. In your divine essence you thrive. I'm your host, Riss, and you're listening to Essence Podcast.
As a child, I grew up around a lot of hardworking people. I witnessed my parents and my grandparents sacrifice a lot of their time and effort and energy to be able to provide for the family. And I subconsciously took note of all of this. You know, as children, we are not only learning from what our parents tell us, but we're also picking up on their habits and their patterns, and we start to see that's the way we should move as being a human on this earth, you know, like we're learning survival 101 from them and being able to understand like, okay, if I do this, then I'm going to receive this out of it. So for example, like even working, I do remember seeing my family put in a lot of time into work and come home very exhausted. You know, they would sometimes be able to like play with us, but a majority of the time they were tired from their long day of work. So it became like work all day. And then, you know, of course, like very late at night was like, you know, when we get to enjoy TV or just lounging. And then of course on the weekends, but it became this cycle of like, okay, we work. Everyone is busy. And then we get our time afterward, our reward to just rest. And ideally, I really want to talk about this because this sort of blinds us into only putting so much energy into this place that is, you know, funneling this money to provide, but also there's just so many other categories of our life that need our attention and that need work. And that is like our mental health, our spiritual health, our emotional health, our physical health. And like we sort of put them to the side in order to be able to focus on our success, on being able to focus on money, on building this ladder, and sometimes becomes like a bit of a treadmill, you know, and there's really no ending. So I think the beautiful thing is that the family that I grew up in is like they still showed love. Everyone showed love and they showed up when they had the time. And that's a beautiful thing to be able to witness as a child, you know, is to be able to know that there's still love that's there. But it's sort of that like communication, or the way that was being showed up was kind of like either that tough love, or it was like love in ways of like which they knew how to. And like our parents, they build this paved way for us. You know, everyone is working together as a family to build a stepping stone for one another, to be able to climb on each other's shoulders. And I know as for myself, like being the oldest, like I was meant to also be on this bit of a pedestal of like, you're next, you know, you're to set the bar and reach for more success, you know, and put your brick down and build upon this, you know. So you're just building on this layer of this yellow brick road. And so of course as children we put on our ruby red slippers and we're like, sure, you know, like I'll go ahead and like, you know, especially if you're the oldest or an only child, like you're kind of like, okay, yeah, I'll listen and I'll follow the map, you know, like just give me the map and I'll go ahead and I'll lead the way under your honor, you know, like under the family's honor, which is such a beautiful thing. But it's also like when you're a child, you're not obviously understanding what boundaries are as much. So you're just kind of like picking up whatever your parents are doing and like how they move. Then there's kids that know what they're doing at a young age. And then there's those like myself who are kind of like figuring it out as they go. And if you had a skill or a talent that you took on from an early age, that became, of course, like this easy access of a passion, like this became your outlet. And for me, I sort of had that. Dancing was definitely my outlet, but I didn't think I had the ability enough to make that my, like, I'm gonna pursue it for the rest of my life. I don't know why, but I guess as a child I just didn't think I had the like idea that pursuing a dance as a career was something I wanted to do. I saw it more as a hobby. And growing up, the creative aspect wasn't really something you pursued, like seeing my family do that. Like it was more of like, that's their hobby, that's an activity. I was sort of like pushed to be able to like pick a category that's going to make me the most successful. As a child, I did my best to be a really good student, to be able to make good grades and to be able to be indulged in activities, but also there is a sense of like, okay, you also have to go to college. And at that point I was kind of like, college, I don't even know if I want to do that, like what would I even do? And I did know one thing though, if I was going to go to college, I was going to LA, because I've always just been a little drama queen, like I loved acting, I loved dancing, I loved being a rock star, and I loved singing. So I also loved being in front of the camera and back of the camera, like behind the camera. And even in elementary school, me and my friends would make all these funny skits and be little goofballs. So this felt like, okay, if I'm going to go to school, this is what I'm going to pursue. I'm going to pursue film. And so I chose that as my career because this was something that I felt really connected to, and that I was like, I think I love this, like I think I can make this work. And, of course, as years go on in college, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm here now, and I'm getting through the motion of also not only going to school, but learning how to be an adult. So adulting turns into like, okay, how do I do this? And, maneuvering this, like all this freedom that I have now that I'm not living with my parents. And with this adulting, this figuring it out, it's like you're sort of also embodying everything your parents taught you at the same time. And you're just making it work, And I don't really think you need to had gone to college for this to have experienced this. I'm pretty sure like everyone may have had experienced this, being 18 and now being an adult, like it's kind of like you're going through the motions of what an adult does, and that's sort of like what your parents did. You make that kind of like your own little habitual pattern and way of moving, and then a twist of, your own body and essence and your own personality. So this transition of being able to understand that, like, for me, coming out of college, I was sort of like, okay, I don't even know if I really like film anymore. Like I did it and it was a beautiful experience, but like now that I know about this industry, now that I know like what this can do, like, do I even like this? So I had this whole thing of like, what do I do now? Who am I? Like, what is my main purpose? Because I felt like I followed my fate of where I'm supposed to go, but like now I'm feeling like my heart is talking, like, where is my destiny wanting me to go, And if you're here on this podcast, I'm sure you're probably experienced the same thing. Like, you had this call for creativity and this call for connecting with this inner artist, this inner child. And so this was where I was at, was like kind of like, okay, myself is taking me on another direction. I'm going on another adventure here, but I don't know what it is. And I still kind of feel kind of like stuck where I'm like, I just went to college. I just spent all this money on this career. Like, I need to pursue it. I need to be sensible, like my parents set me here. I need to finish off this road, and I need to put in hard work to get there. But as I'm kind of like in this pickle of like, what the heck am I doing? Luckily, I was given a bridge job. I was blessed with a bridge job during this time. So I graduated in 2019, and I was right after college in a bridge job, I like to call it. And 2020 is just around the corner, and that's, when the pandemic is doing its thing. So in this transition, it felt like it was sort of a synchronistic moment for me to be able to figure out where I'm headed to. And I remember two memories that feel so vivid of like, these were the ping memories of like how my life was switching to a different course, and one that I was not aware of. And the first memory that I remember is like when I first started dating my boyfriend during that time, he bought me two crystals and they were so cute, like it was a rose quartz crystal shaped as a heart and an amethyst crystal. And yeah, I just thought they were cute. I didn't really know much about them. I was like, oh, like this is little trinkets that he gave me, and I would keep them by my bedside. And I didn't really understand the powers that they had. And like, but I do remember I would have anxiety at work all the time, and I would grab my amethyst crystal and keep it with me and like sleep with it. And it would keep me so calm. And I just remember that being like my first moment of understanding like this like healing energy that I was gravitating towards. In the second memory, I was with my mom, and at the time she lived in San Diego, but she had came to visit me in LA, and she had told me she was going to see a friend that is a vibrational sound therapist. And I was like, ooh, what is that? So I decide to go back with her to San Diego and attend this session with her. And I remember sitting on the couch holding a bunch of crystals. Her friend gave me like a bunch of crystals to hold and put them all over my body. I remember my mom laying on a massage bed table, and like her friend had these big tuning forks, these big metal tuning forks, and a hockey puck, and she would hit the top of the tuning fork and it would vibrate and make this buzzing noise. And I was so intrigued to know like, what is she gonna do with that, and at the time I didn't know what that tuning forks did, but now that I'm indulging in it and studying it and using it myself, like it reads the energy around your body. You have these rings of energy like a tree that holds your whole timeline of your life from when you were a baby to like you at the age of now. And around these rings is your mental body, your emotional body, your ethereal body, your spiritual body, and of course your physical body. And like as she's reading and using these tuning forks to move around my mom's body, she picks up some dense energy in my mom's auric field, and she starts to say there's something at the age of 7 that seems to be blocked and stagnant. And I can hear with my eyes closed the like tuning forks start to change sound, and I'm kind of like, oh, like just being very in tune with what was going on in the moment. And my mom starts to express like what happened at the age of 7, and she starts to talk about it, and I start to like feel the emotions coming up through me. Like I wanted to cry for my mom, and I'm like moving through this like energy of like what is going on, but I've always known I was like an empath, and this kind of like clarified that like I am an empath. And this whole moment was just so vivid and real for me, and it became this like ping moment, is this transition of like, oh, what is holistic healing? What is the healing arts? Like, can I indulge in it? Like, let me know more about this. And so I started to find my love. I started to find this direction, this energy of like where I wanted to go. And for me, being a Capricorn, like where my focus is in this world is more of like, what is my purpose in like being of service? Where is my purpose of being a support team? And so how can I be a leader and like make my own path? And this has always been my transition, but this is for everyone. It doesn't have to be something you love that's a career, but also like something you love outside of your career. But it's these feelings, these skills that we can bring together to mesh with how we make money, how we indulge in things. And for me in this moment, I'm sort of like also meshing like, okay, how can I bring in more of what I love? How can I indulge in it and also like make money off of it, and like just allow this beautiful connection to ravel together? Because I did feel at such an early moment that like if I don't like something, I want to pivot and I want to change, but it sort of became a little bit harder as an adult, because it's like, especially out of college, you just had a whole moment of like spending so much money on a career and like you're not even really pursuing it. And like I think it's a beautiful thing that people get to pursue it, but then there's also people like me too that like where you're like, okay, I did that, and like it's still an experience and it's still valuable, but there's also this pivot of like, okay, my life is starting to not make sense, like I want to do something else, and that is a sense of evolution. That is a sense of like enhancing your creativity and taking it to another level. And I think this like transitional moment happened for me then, and of course the pandemic started to do its thing, and I was given that more of an opportunity to like heal myself and indulge in different beautiful teachers on learning about holistic healing and spirituality with like Abraham Hicks and other beautiful YouTubers, and it was just a whole moment for me that changed my life. So the question that comes up and pops up is like the who am I? It starts with the who am I? Like it starts with like, where am I going? Where am I headed? And that's that little pinnacle point of that question starts to unravel where the universe is like, oh, okay, you want to know who you are and what you want to know more about yourself. And it starts to become this point where you are sort of finding and discovering along the way as it starts to pivot. And you're no longer identifying with your old self. And so this right here becomes my transition. This becomes like where I'm able to learn more about myself and say, who am I? And like, what can I do? And how can I help? This became my whole world after a while. And I was able to indulge in that so much more. And my creativity outlet was starting to open, where I was getting inspired to make these triangle shelves. I was embodying my carpentry era, and it allowed me to indulge in just other parts of me that I didn't even know existed. So being able to understand where your journey is taking you, I mean, as adults, again, we want to make sense of things. We're taught to make sense of things. Like if it is not A, B, C, and D, then why do it? Like taking a path that's already paved, the fate path of like following what somebody else has done. It's like, it's a bit of a drudgery. If you're here, somebody listening to this podcast, like you're meant to create, you're meant to like evolve. And when you're feeling stuck and stagnant in a place, it tends to just feel dense, like it's dragging on. And then the sort of the mode of the whole thing about it just becomes like, it's money, it's gonna provide for the things that I actually like, and we tend to keep it separate. And so I definitely did not want to get to that point where I was feeling like what I'm doing isn't making me happy. I've always been one to question, like, is it making me happy? Am I having fun? And if I'm not having fun, I automatically start to feel anxiety. I automatically start to feel like my body is like just, it's overstimulated, it's like overdoing. And that is where we're starting to like feel like that our body is already giving us signals of what is going on, and we tend to ignore that because we are kind of programmed and habitually taught to really be like, okay, well, you just do it, like even if you don't like it, you make it happen. It's called a sacrifice. And there's sacrificing, and there's also like completely draining your energy of life force. And you want to be able to still take care of yourself. Even if you have to show up still at this job for a little while, the idea is to be able to still question yourself and see where you're going next, what you want to do next, so you can start to pivot that hard work and uplift that dense energy to push it to go to the direction of where you want to go, to be able to pursue the dreams and to be able to water the relationships that you actually want to be in and indulge in, and in living the healthy lifestyle and taking the adventures. And it's more taking in that hard work and moving it where it needs to go, because hard work is inevitable, right? Like we are humans and we are here to do, and we're also here to be. But there is a balance of both. There is a balance of love and there's a balance of money. Nothing is separate. Everything is mirroring each other and everything is working together. And if one thing is out of balance and one thing is too high or the opposite, it's like there's no real flow. There's a stuck feeling that's going on. There's a repetitive feeling, and it's the hard work of like getting out of the cycle of feeling like you have to be miserable, you have to be gossipy, or like feel like you need to vent about your problems. Like you people sort of become blindsided by that. They need to continue to express this, and this is like, oh, I need a drink, like it's these habits that we're addicted to, and being able to realize and break through those habits and not feel so like in a stuck place, and actually start to love what you do and bring that into the forefront. So really just enhancing the love and making that 360 all around your life, like bringing that all around who you are and what you're doing and what you're being. And so this also ties into like, as a young adult, we are, again, like if we don't really know where we're going or what we're doing, we tend to start to people please also, because we are told what to do. Like we're told, okay, you're going to do this, 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 and this. And, you're kind of like, okay, sure, you know what to do, you know best, like you're my authoritative figure. And we sort of let that push us along our whole life. And you would do good in this, you should do that, and like we don't really get to think for ourselves. And as an adult, if we're not already on this path of like what we know what we want, we tend to just get stuck, and the people pleasing becomes like this ball chain where we get stuck behind an authoritative figure, when we are to be the authoritative figure within ourselves, making our own decisions, choosing what we love as something we do, and just being able to also navigate where we want to put in hard work. Where does it need to go, instead of it just following where everyone else has definitely put their hard work in. And, changing our idea of money being success. Success is more than money. Success is being successful and understanding your mentality, your spirituality, your emotional body, and like all these other layers. There's like so much more to success than just being able to know like, oh, I'm being rewarded through money. Like be rewarded through like your body feeling great, and your soul feeling so good, and your emotions being so balanced, and really switching gears on this. And ideally, this is kind of scary for us, when we're creators creating our life, especially if it's something that our parents have never seen before, and they're kind of like, what are you doing? That's not the way to do it. Or family, like they see you're sort of building your own little road, but you're actually course correcting the road that was built, like you are course correcting the yellow brick road to be able to make another turn, instead of having to go straight in this linear line where it's sort of like this treadmill straight, like it is. Life is meant to be curvy, life is meant to be ups and downs. So why not actually flow with it and actually feed around, making your road go around the river, and making a bridge and connecting all of life together. And so that's the idea of what is here, because it's like, while you're also finding what you love and actually making that what you do, it's also healing you. It's also healing your family and your friends and your ancestry tree. Like this is a matter of growing, instead of just being able to be stagnant and still, And so that is ideally where I imagine that hard work can be placed, and again, why would we want to keep pleasure separate from this place that we are constantly having to show up, and this place that feeds us money? Like our pleasure and our love and our vitality and what brings us all of these goodies and goodness and yumminess of life, let's mesh them together. Being able to think about, how can I put this to become one? So redefine hard work in your own life, soul babe. What do you want to indulge in? Can you imagine making that your living? Can you imagine making that like your full-on lifestyle? I just want to give you this example of like myself. Like my dream is to build a meditation and cafe center. And I find so much love and community and connection. And I don't know where I'm going next, but I'm just flowing and creating. And for me, this is creating the podcast. This is me still indulging in different things that I get to express myself, because I know this is building character for myself. This is building strength. This is building ambition and boss energy. It's like Things don't have to make sense. Just flow with it and take one step at a time and show up. Put in that hard work into the places that you actually feel good in. And start there. Start with the small steps of like, what makes you feel good and how can you feed it? And show up every day to it like it is your actual job. And you will start to see the maneuver, the transition, slowly but surely. I want you to know, soul babe, that you can make your life the way you want. Speak it, say it, so be it, and it's gonna happen. Also, write down what you want. Why do you think they call it spelling? Because spelling has so much power in it. You have the power to redefine your work and do what you love. So at this time, soul babe, I'd like for you to place your hand on your heart and on your stomach and close your eyes, taking a deep breath in with me, breathing in through your nose, exhaling out of your mouth. Beautiful. Doing that 2 more times, breathing in through the nose, exhaling out of the mouth. Last time, breathing in and sighing it out. With your eyes closed, repeat this affirmation with me. I believe in myself. My word is my wand. I speak what I want into existence. Beautiful. Mahalo, soul babes.